Hi, good people. Hope you are well. So today let's look at anxiety disorders, part of the mental health series. So by the end of this discussion, you'll be able to define what is anxiety. You'll be able to differentiate between anxiety and fear, something that most people tend not to get. Then we'll come also with theories that try to explain the issue of anxiety. Then finally, we'll be able to describe the types of anxiety disorders in terms of criteria, diagnosis, signs and symptoms, factors associated with each other, and also part of the management that we do. So just for an introduction, we talk about with anxiety and we have fear. So when you talk about fear, it's always acute and immediate response to suddenly appearing imminent danger. So we are talking of issues with proximal threats. So it has to, if it's acute and immediate response to suddenly appearing and imminent danger, we talk it as fear. Then you need to know that fear involves subjective feelings of apprehension and objective physiological changes such as rapid heart rate. We can talk of muscle tremors, among others. All this always happens in preparation to issues with flight and fight tendencies. So it's always a response that we ought to always have. Okay, don't forget about that. So we talked of it being an acute and immediate response. That's about fear. So what about anxiety? When you talk about anxiety, it's always a sustained feeling of uneasiness and apprehension about some unidentified threat or physical, and also this threat can either be physical or psychological, with the threats to self-esteem, well-being, and bodily harm. So we talk of sustained feeling of, so this person has uneasiness, and remember it's always sustained feeling, unlike anxiety, which you said is an acute and immediate response. So unlike fear, anxiety stems from sources that are not obvious or seems minor to the person who suffers. So that's the main difference between anxiety and fear. So at this point, I hope you can know that you have fear of this and you have anxiety of this. So what can be the cause of this anxiety? So we have to know that we have so many theories that exist and try to explain all about these issues of anxiety. So if we talk about the cognitive model, it attributes anxiety to disordered thinking. So we talk about the cognitive triad. Then other causes of anxiety is we can talk of dysfunctional beliefs or even rules or even biological basis, like the issues with the limbic system. It can predispose one to this thing that we term it as anxiety. So what are the levels of anxiety? With mild, moderate, severe, and also panic. When you talk about mild, they're always adaptive day-to-day tension. What about moderate? Moderate, you always say they cause difficulty focusing with some mild somatic complaints, such as there are those who will say, I have mild stomach ache, upsets, and other things. What about severe anxiety? So for people with severe anxiety, they're always unable to focus on problem solving. So they'll always be having issues with increased physical discomfort and also direction to focus attention. What about panic? They will be having terror, distortion of perception, disorganized personalities, and other things. That is part of levels of anxiety. So you need to know that maladaptive coping to anxiety, it always leads to anxiety disorders. So if you have the maladaptive coping mechanisms or things that you use, it will always lead to anxiety disorders, which is always a common feature of anxiety. And with various types of anxiety disorders, I'll try list them, then we'll check one after the other. With generalized anxiety disorder, some go to selective mutism, some have separation anxiety disorder. There are those with specific phobias. This falls for many people, specific phobias. So you can just tell us the type of phobia that you are having. Specific phobias. There are those who fear cats. There are those who fear other things. There are those who fear open places. There are those who fear closed spaces. So you can also list down your specific phobia. I bet you have a specific phobia. Then we have social anxiety disorder, with panic disorder, with agoraphobia, and also substance/medication-induced anxiety disorder. One will start with generalized anxiety. So when you talk about generalized anxiety, it's always an anxiety disorder and it's mainly characterized by excessive anxiety. And these people, they tend to have worry, and this occurs for most days, but it has to occur for at least 6 months for we to say this is generalized anxiety disorder. So the anxiety is about the number of different events or activities, and the individual finds it difficult to control. That we term it as it's already a disorder. Then you need to know that it has to occur on most days for at least 6 months. So for people who are always affected with generalized anxiety disorder, they will have at least 3 of these things. We can talk of restlessness or feeling kicked up. 2, we can talk of being easily fatigued, difficulty concentrating, irritability, muscle tension, and also sleep disturbance. So they always present with at least 3 of these for we to be able to come up with this diagnosis. Then remember, it has to occur in most days for at least 6 months. So if it affects children, just one symptom is always enough. Then most common is always in adults, and the most people always affected with generalized anxiety disorder are always the female, unlike the male. Next, we talk of panic disorder. Now, what is panic disorder? They're always recurrent, unexpected panic attacks. When you talk about a panic attack, it's always an abrupt surge of intense fear. So these people have intense fear, it's always abrupt, or intense discomfort that reaches a peak within minutes, and during which time so when you talk about panic attacks, they have abrupt surge of intense fear or even intense discomfort, and it always reach peak within minutes. You're just with someone there, and then without even wasting time, they have just the abrupt surge of intense fear. That's always panic attack. So they always present with things like palpitations. They will always be having pounding heart rate. We can talk of accelerated heart rate. They will be sweating. Some will be trembling, even shaking. That's about panic attack. Some will be having issues with chest pain, nausea, abdominal distress, with feeling of dizziness, derealization, and depersonalization. If you've gone throughout our video of mental health, if you've gone through the video of mental status examination, some of these terms we've really covered them in detail. Then fear of losing control or even going crazy, paresthesia is always there. That's all about issues with panic attacks. Some will also be having fear of dying, chills, hot flashes, feeling of choking, among other things. So for panic attacks, you need to know that we need to have at least one of these attacks and has been followed by a month or more. Okay, that's all about panic attacks. So it's not supposed to be attributed to substance effect, or even medical condition or any other medical disorder. So we have to rule out all these for we to say someone has panic attack. What about separation anxiety disorder? So we talk about this is mainly ideally it focuses on the issues of attachment figures exceeding what may be expected at a given developmental level. So people with separation anxiety disorders, they always have symptoms that meet at least 3 of the following criteria. So they will always experience persistent excessive fear when they have separation from home, they have worry about well-being or death or the attachment figures, they worry about untold events, reluctance or refusal to go out by themselves, they're always reluctant or they refuse even to go sleep alone. Then we have repeated nightmares, then psychological features such as headache upon separation. So for also separation anxiety, we also check for the age. Then the disturbance must last for at least a period of at least 4 weeks in children, and for adolescents we talk of 6 months and more in adults. So for separation anxiety disorder, it causes a significant distress, or even it can cause impairment in aspects of social, academic, and also occupational life of this person. Okay, so what are the risk factors? We can talk of afterlife stress, or we can talk of parental overprotection, and also issues with intrusiveness. So these are always the key risk factors. So if you get someone who has had parental overprotection, so if they now find out themselves outside, then it becomes hard. They have to be always supported. Okay, so the most prevalent anxiety disorder in children under 12 years, it mainly affects children because most of them, they always attach more to their parents. Okay, next we can talk about selective mutism. So when you talk about selective mutism, these people, they're always having consistent failure to speak in specific social situations. So they don't speak at all. So despite speaking in other situations, you'll find that they can speak in this place, but in other places they cannot. And if it occurs for at least 1 month, then you talk about selective mutism. So such children with selective mutism do not initiate speech or reciprocally respond when spoken by others, except by very close family members. So it affects most children. Yeah, they're always selective in who to speak to, so they cannot initiate the speech themselves. And if it continues that way, probably it can also affect her as he or she grows up. So it interferes with the education, the occupation, achievements, or with social communication, because you have to socialize with people. You'll go to school, you have to speak to people, you have to answer your teachers. You'll go to work, you have to talk to the people that you are working with. So it becomes that hard to interfere with all these things. So then you need to know that now the failure for them to speak is not always attributed to lack of knowledge or comfort. They have just chose to be that way. Okay. Then next we'll talk about specific phobia. So when we talk about specific phobia, you need to know that it always revolves around specific and single feared objects. It's unlike the generalized anxiety disorder. Specific phobia, we are specific and it's also single feared object. Okay, so then the fear and anxiety is always out of proportion and is the immediate response to the object or situation. Specific phobia, we are specific to this thing. So the types of phobias, you can talk of acrophobia, heights, you can talk of astrophobia, lightning, aviophobia, flying, claustrophobia, closed places, cynophobia, dogs, entomophobia, it's always insects. Then pyrophobia is always fire. Then hematophobia, they fear blood. Hydrophobia, they fear water. Microphobia, germs. Monophobia, autophobia, being alone, they cannot. Separation anxiety. Then xenophobia is always strangers. Nyctophobia is always they fear night. So there are also other phobias that you can go check. So just something for you, you can go read more about about the social anxiety and also issues with agoraphobia. It's also part of specific phobias. Now, how can we manage anxiety disorders? You ought to know that CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, is always a key thing that you're supposed to do, because this tries to challenge negative thinking patterns. And you will find out that these negative thinking patterns, they are the ones that contribute to anxiety. So if you try to replace them with positive and realistic thoughts, then at this point you'll be trying to manage anxiety. Then you can also do habitation, then you can do flooding and impulsive therapies. They can help these people. Then you can train these people on relaxation techniques. And this entails a person has to know the feelings and how anxiety comes about. Then we can also teach them about mental exercises, about issues like crossword puzzle, or even playing general knowledge games. So these are just relaxation techniques, so as to help manage this anxiety. Then we can also do progressive relaxation. That's according to Jacobson, who talks about the tensing and relax muscle. Then we can do meditation technique. Then you can also develop a set of verbal and non-verbal environmental manipulation skills so as to overcome the specific phobias that one can be there. So the instances that if we try do also the cognitive behavioral therapy cannot work, then you can do the anti-anxiety agents. So we can do propranolol if we're having physical symptoms of anxiety. Don't forget, we've talked of like pounding pulses and among others. Then we can also do alprazolam. Is always the treatment of choice for people with panic disorders, and others we can use fluoxetine. We can do iminoprine, among others, for as anti-anxiety agents. Then benzodiazepines can also be included, but we are told we are supposed to use it sparingly. So up to this point, I hope we've covered something about anxiety. If you try check this boy, he has anxiety, but what type of anxiety is the patient? Is the boy having? You can also try answer us down the chat box. Then we'll try also to give you a feedback. That is it for now. I don't know if you guys have any other thing for us. For those that are new to the channel, we kindly urge you to give us a subscription, like our videos, share with others, let the information also reach these other people so that we may be at par and also help the patients and the clients that we might meet on the way. That is it for now. If you have any other question, you can just put down the chat box, then we'll try to respond. Bye.